For the next 100 days, I'm jumping into the creepy cute chaos of Once Human, The Way of Winter.
Okay.
Will I be able to survive the freezing cold and burning hot temperatures, defeat the toughest bosses, and capture all the cutest deviations? Maybe even make some friends. Or will my stubbornness get the best of me? I guess you'll just have to watch and see. A big thanks to NetEase Games for sponsoring this video. Once Human is a free-to-play, open-world survival game that had me hooked from the first Digby. You can get it for free for yourself on Steam through my link in the description, where you can check out their latest scenario, the Lunar Oracle, which introduces a blood moon that will be making things a lot more interesting at night, featuring more difficult enemies, a new lunacy mechanic, oracle crates to find, special deviations, and more. For now, though, let's get into it and see what the Way of Winter is all about.
Oh,
Dropping in on day one, I quickly noticed I wasn't alone.
are those people's houses? Hey, neighbors.
The ground was covered in houses of other players and my soon-to-be neighbors. My guide, this bird named V, helped me find a safe landing on the road, and I got straight to work.
A safe landing. Quick, let's scan the area.
It was extremely cold here, so I knew I needed to get a fire going before night if I didn't want to freeze. Plus, I was already starting to get hungry. I picked this spiked tomato first and gave it a try. Didn't seem to do much for my hunger, but I did get a bit of cold protection from it. Not that I noticed, I just went straight to chopping down trees and busting up rocks so I could start building. I ignored the instructions at first and put down this territory blueprint
We did it.
before realizing I could actually just place one of these cool little campsites. It had a fire built in and a workbench too, where I made myself this torch.
Aw.
With warmth figured out for now, I got to work on some clothes next. I'd already picked up a crossbow in the tutorial and started hunting for some hide.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
On my way home, I spotted this guy with a gun. Ooh, I want one. First, some pants though.
Put on your winter gear.
After getting a much more reasonable outfit on, I unlocked a few things in this memetics screen. The furnace was first, and I used it to make the copper ingot I needed for this disassembly bench. Now I just need some scrap to disassemble in it. So early on day 2, I made some arrows at the campsite and headed down to the place I'd seen the guy shooting before. Looks like a reasonable place to find some scrap to me. It had a serious zombie infestation, or that's what it looked like to me anyway. They're called deviants and are infected by the stardust that pollutes this world. Just like zombies though, these were pretty slow.
No.
Well, until they weren't. There were storage boxes scattered all around, full of random scrap, a couple exploding spiders, some extra fast purple guys,
Okay, starting to get a little scarier now.
and then this black goo. I was completely oblivious to the fact I was standing in it when I stopped to use an activator to heal. Then I couldn't figure out why my health bar wouldn't refill. Turns out that black stuff is some sort of stardust pollution, and it makes you lose sanity, which lowers your total health. I eventually wandered out of the stuff and continued grabbing everything I could, when I ended up sitting in some more of it, opening this box. By the time I noticed the black stuff was causing it, my health was already half past gone, and clearly I'd taken too long. On my way back out, the monsters had respawned. My crossbow was slow, so I switched to this sword for a while. Then, as I was clearing out the exit, one snuck up and got a bite of me. My health was extra low now, and I just ran past everything else to make it out. A couple of them followed me, but they were easy enough to deal with out in the open. I used an activator to heal what little health I had left after that, then headed home to disassemble all the scrap. At first, I was doing it just one at a time. Then I realized you could just select them all.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
I used some of the pieces to make this storage crate next, putting a few things inside. My health was still lower from my sanity, so I tried to stay out of too much trouble. Eventually, getting enough experience to hit level 4 and unlock some new building pieces and furniture, including just what I needed. A bed.
Ooh.
Turns out sleep refills your sanity, which makes pretty good sense to me. Now I just need some walls. I took a quick nap in the cold anyway, and headed off to an outpost my bird friend had marked on the map.
Just running with the reindeer. Hello, reindeer.
Are you a friend or foe? You have one chance. Identify yourself. There are 20 guns aimed at you. Once more, I'll ask. Wait, aren't you A mayfly? Come on over.
When I arrived, they decided not to shoot me, thankfully, saying something about this weird backpack I was wearing and calling me a mayfly. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but they can call me whatever they want as long as they don't shoot me. The outpost leader was Maisley, a member of the column.
Huh. So it's true. You are a mayfly. So I'd like to know why you're here.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They're fighting against the vultures and their leader Igna, who more or less want to take over the world. And of course, the column wants my help to deal with them.
Let's start with that.
All right.
I ended the night claiming rewards for finishing these journey quests I'd completed, unlocking a couple workbenches and choosing a weapons bonus on my backpack, making myself a new copper pickaxe first, then finally that gun I was wanting. Ooh.
Chop, 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 chop.
It wasn't long after that I got my first deviation.
Digby. I got a thingy.
The deviations are stored in these little containment units and have different skills to help out. Some help out around your base, like Digby, who of course digs, collecting different ore. Others can ride in your backpack, which is actually called a cradle, and can help in combat. With Digby hard at work digging, I got to work building myself, putting up some walls before I ended up sleeping out in the cold again. I made some mistakes, of course, but thankfully it's really easy to move stuff around in this game.
Mistakes were made, and now they are fixed. Boop.
After that, I spent some points unlocking stuff, like this new gear and a garage, which came with my first ride, a motorcycle.
Yeah.
You can summon it pretty much any time, and I didn't have anywhere to go but hopped on for a ride anyway. When I was done, I added this stove next, right in front of the window, roasting some reindeer for dinner on it. Then I gathered a bunch of wood and ore before spending the night checking my mail. I mostly just wanted to get rid of the notification, but I'm sure glad I checked it.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't Christmas yet, but I got presents. I didn't really know what most of it was yet. Those are definitely guns, though. Yes, please. I took a quick nap just because, then placed this cute little sheep before making myself a new set of armor. Tossed the old gear into the disassembler, and noticed after that Digby was already sitting on a pile of goodies. It was only 10 copper and 10 tin, but it was 10 that I didn't have to dig. The guns I'd gotten in the mail were awfully pretty. Sadly, though, I couldn't use them until I got to level 10. Well, darn. I was able to open this mysterious morphed deviation gift box, though. Inside it was a choice between several different deviations. I debated for longer than I'd like to admit, trying to decide which one to pick. It probably would have helped if I'd known what any of them did. In the end, I went with the creepiest looking of them all, this Shattered Maiden.
Let's do it. That one. Okay. You can sit with Digby. Oh, it's so creepy. This is a giant cat. It's so big.
I followed the marker to this place called Camp Igloo next.
So this is Camp Igloo. A lot of potatoes.
Made some new friends there.
Hey, you. Friend, what are you up?
Hey, guys.
Picked up a few quests, including one for collecting another Digby, and took a nice picture of this big ship. Then I talked to V about something called commissions. There are weekly challenges you can choose from to unlock experience, energy links, and these little blue controllers. No idea how to use them yet, but do I want them? Yes. I got straight to work on hunting 20 animals first. It was easy enough with all the poor reindeer here. Next was gathering any 100 ore. I got distracted for a moment checking out this cool looking house belonging to someone named Sloth Ninja. Definitely a lot more creative than mine. And as I finished the ore challenge that evening, I hit level 9 and finished up one more for smelting that night. Then started out day 5 choosing this forest foe specialization to get more wood, then collected some more ore from Digby before putting out a second Digby.
2 Digby's.
They sure are cute, but a little freaky looking sometimes.
Ah, Digby. Go, Digby, go.
It distracted me so much that I didn't even notice I was freezing to death.
Whoa.
Oops. Things warmed up a bit with the sun, and I headed off on my motorcycle to the next quest, to a place called Mooseville. I stopped on the way to raid a bunch of car trunks, then got distracted by this guy shooting when this crazy looking thing started coming down the road. It didn't seem to care about me shooting it, and eventually just stopped and sat down, allowing me to loot the crate inside. When I came back out, though, I wasn't alone.
Don't eat me. Oh no, that's not good. Okay. Where's my motorcycle? I had a motorcycle. Oh, bye-bye.
Should have known it was a trap. I stopped by this camp place next to raid for scraps, where I hit level 10. Now I can use those guns. I didn't use them yet though, and finished raiding most of the place with my crossbow and testing out the Shattered Maiden deviation.
Ew, don't do that.
At the end, this guy named Bob joined in, and as I left, I switched over to one of my new guns, this pretty blue rifle.
Ooh.
Yep, that will definitely do.
Oh. I didn't know that was gonna explode.
I got back on the road after that, continuing to the Mooseville marker.
Sorry, bunny.
Which I'm pretty sure I thought was at this place. Yeah, I'm American. Maybe the measurement threw me off. That's okay, I got to practice my headshots at least. I collected a fair bit of scrap too, then realized I was definitely at the wrong place and hopped back on the bike. Ah, this must be Mooseville.
This looks like the place.
More like Mouseville. Looks like an amusement park or something to me. I was not very amused though when I died not long after from the cold. Guess I probably should have read the big hypothermia warning that popped up. I respawned back at my base and then spent the night crafting and unlocking some things, like this new campfire to keep things a bit toastier around here. Early day 6, I was gathering stuff when I got hypothermia again.
Oh no. Run inside, run inside, run inside.
You know, I think I might just stay home for the rest of the day. I've got some new building pieces I want to play with. The next morning, I calibrated my armor, using different materials to improve the stats. Then, to finish my raid set, I made this mask. I calibrated it too, and then made myself a little room. And now, back to freezing again.
No. 4. Okay, so I need those one things.
I finally realized at this point that the spiked tomatoes help keep you warm, and grabbed a few for breakfast. Ah, that's better.
Come on in, buddy. Digby's like the cutest thing ever. Oh, it's so cute.
After that, I went back to Camp Igloo to finish the quest about Digby with this guy named Lowe, checked the commission board to find I'd finished them all, then chatted with the other people at the camp to see what they were selling. Most of it I couldn't buy, except this corn seed I went for because I wanted to make some fish bait. Back at home, I tried out this new blue light, not realizing it wasn't really for lighting up your house.
Oh no.
But instead for making the deviations happy. I only moved it over them because I thought it'd look cool, accidentally completing one of the journey tasks. There was another deviation task to deplete its mood for power, and I did that one too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Digby. He's so unhappy now. But I got a journey complete.
I went out and froze again, then laid in the bed for a while to do some reading. The survival manual had some tips about dealing with the extreme temperatures, like using special fur for armor. I know I saw a bear somewhere.
I think that's a bear. Is it? Oh, it's dead now. Here, polar bear. Lady Lena. Well, she has a very pretty purple home. Oh, wow. It's like an ice cream drip house. Aww. It's a donut. There's a ship out there. Ship. Hello, reindeer.
I finished the night unlocking a few more things, and chose this disassembly bench specialization to get some extra materials from all the scrap I've been collecting.
It's a good time to make some coffee.
Chop, 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 chop. Chopping down tree. Oh yeah, I'm cold.
Oh, my fire went out.
Day 8, my kid chopped down some trees. Then I gathered some seawater, which you need to make salt. I raided this place again on the way back, getting a bit more experience and scrap. When I made it home, I calibrated my weapons this time, upping the damage on my rifle and shotgun with some bronze, crafted a couple activators for healing, started the salt on the stove, and ate some spiked tomatoes before hopping on my bike for Camp Igloo again. There, I picked up another quest from Lo, who sent me to talk to this guy about a deviation that was causing them some trouble with their food supply. Guess I'll add that to my to-do list.
Oh, I can teleport to my land.
I discovered I could teleport after that and did a few things back at base before heading back to Mooseville again. When I arrived, I noticed several campsites out front, and finally realized you could use them for a respawn point. I must not have been the only one to die here, so I made myself a campsite with the others and headed through the entrance into Mooseville. I shot a couple of these balloon heads first, then spotted this very big guy carrying some sort of frame you can't shoot through. Luckily, another player was passing by and distracted him. I continued, noticing this very large deviant hiding behind a tree. Yeah, let's not try to get that one's attention just yet. Instead, I picked off the more normal ones around the tents, and kept a close eye on the big one in the background. I looted everything I could without getting too close, and spotted this more medium monster next, called a glutton. I shot it with my crossbow, but might as well have thrown a toothpick at it for all the damage it did. Might be time to get that new rifle out. It seemed to be shielded, and I probably should have shot the glowing purple spots on its legs instead.
Oh no.
I didn't though, making things a lot more difficult.
No. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. That is not what I'm meaning to do at all right now.
My shattered maiden saved the day by freezing it, and I threw a Molotov on it. Running out of ammo after that, and switching back to the crossbow for the rest of the battle. I eventually finished it off, despite my obliviousness.
Yes. Oh, that guy was tough. Scout pants.
As it started to get dark, I found the person I needed for the quest.
Hey, up here!
With night falling, though, it was getting too cold. Sorry, hot dog, I think I have to go home. I put out a third Digby that night and did a few things to make them happy, adding a red light and this radio for some music. Too bad Digby doesn't dance. The morning of day 9, I made myself this rock called helium, which helps keep you warm when it's in your bag. They only last an hour, but can stack with the food effects at least. I made my way back to find Hot Dog again after that. He said to meet him inside, so I cleared out the enemies, jumped down to break my knees,
Ow.
used a bandage real quick, and then went in to wait.
Take a seat and make yourself comfortable.
Turns out the vultures, Igna's minions, were giving them some trouble, and he wants me to help fight them off, hopefully using these conveniently placed explosive barrels. Well, not that conveniently placed, I guess. Once I finally shot one, the explosion took out a few of the vultures, leaving me to finish out the rest with my rifle. I found a random friend to follow next. Each player gets their own loot, making it super easy to team up without missing out.
Wait for me.
I followed them past this giant birthday cake, where I saw one more player up ahead, when I heard something else behind me. And it sure wasn't another player.
Okay.
It looked like it popped straight out of the cake, and I just kept running. There was this thing called a rift anchor here I activated real quick, then some purple exploding spiders to kill. I checked on the big monster, and it didn't seem to be worried with us. But I killed a couple more spiders and turned around to find it was way too close for comfort.
Okay.
With 3 of us shooting at it, it fell pretty fast, revealing a nice weak spot to attack.
Let's go. Oh.
I got a nice new jacket it dropped, along with some other goodies, then decided to go explore around the big cake next. I followed this little glitchy marker to find a crate, and hopped my way over onto the cake.
I'm on the cake. Oh, you're on the cake too. Gonna climb up this candy here. And up we go.
At the top of it was another crate, which marked off this mystical crate on my goals.
Oh.
I was just a bit too distracted by the giant glutton spawning in to notice. Alone this time, things weren't going as well. I wasn't all alone though. My shattered maiden deviation was with me. I let her loose and finally started shooting the weak points myself. She froze the big guy just in time as I walked myself right off a ledge.
Oh my god.
Oops. I panicked for a moment, but with it already down to a quarter of its health, the maiden finished the rest. You are my new best friend.
Ugh. No.
I spent the rest of the evening there in Mooseville trying to find the weapon and armor crates, and also just enjoying shooting everything. I used to play a lot more shooter games, and it's definitely been refreshing to play one again with a bit of a survival spin. I gave up the search when it got dark and started getting cold, pulling up the map to head back home, where starting a fire was first on my list. Then I checked in with my Shattered Maiden deviation. I was just looking to see if I could make it happier, but didn't even know at the time to look at its skill rating. They range from 1 to 5, and this one's a 4. No wonder it was able to take out that big glutton. The next morning, I grabbed the ores my Digby boys had collected and started smelting them, before heading back to Camp Igloo to chat with Wendy about the next quest.
I think it's time we discuss Fort Obsidian.
She also mentioned a Rosetta containment facility. And then, on my way out, Hot Dog asked me to take some pics of scenic spots in the north. Well, that should be easy enough. I read this nice note someone left in a whisper, a little origami-looking butterfly players can leave for others to find. This one was just friendly, but every now and then you'll find a really helpful tip about something in the area. On my way home, I admired Sloth Ninja's house again. It's fun to see the neighbors' houses change too. I watched the Digbys work for a while after that, then spent most of the rest of the day unlocking and upgrading things. I'd completed several of the Phase 1 season goals at this point, which unlocked even more of the meme points for me to use.
Ooh.
Now I can plant those corn seeds. I stayed up that night, placing some different things, including this new wish machine. You can get blueprints from it, I just didn't really understand how it all worked yet. We'll come back to that. Most of day 11 went to gathering things so I could smelt more bronze. I did take a quick trip that evening over to Camp Igloo too. Apparently I've completely missed this teleportation tower the whole time. I'd also been a little rough on my motorcycle and used the garage to repair it that night. Day 12, I unlocked another of the teleportation towers. It was on the way to the Mooseville Sweet Factory, where Lo had told me about a deviation to capture. It was extra cold near it, but I had a helium in my pocket, and had discovered a roasted spike-mato recipe that was even better than the raw ones. The place was full of the zombie-like deviants to kill. They're slow for the most part, as long as you pick them off from a distance.
Oh, hello, very large thing.
I met a new, large purple exploding one that was thankfully stuck, and used my pretty blue gun and its fancy frost damage to deal with the rest. I stopped to take this nice picture of myself, then realized how quickly things could get out of hand when these two started running at me while I was up on some storage crates.
No.
There was another new one after that, called the Scorcher. Luckily, it was in a bit of a bind. Once I managed to kill it though, its head was still running loose.
Oh.
And it was having a lot more luck shooting me with its fireballs.
Ooh.
Eventually, I managed to finish it too, taking all the goodies.
Did it die?
The next building held more zombies, and then an area blocked off by this big ice chunk. Time for some fire. I had my torch and used it to melt the ice, allowing me to access this gear crate.
Oh, yeah.
I switched to my shotgun and realized I'd missed a crate in the Scorcher building next,
I missed that.
only to find he'd already respawned.
No, I didn't. I didn't miss it.
Never mind that, let's get in this factory and see what's going on.
See that? I think that might be our deviation. We should go inside and take a look around.
I cleared out a few zombies inside, then melted this ice for a nice surprise.
Hello. No.
I found more of these glitches leading to a crate, leveled up to 16, and eventually found what I was looking for. I melted the ice off this generator first, to find it needed a key card from one of the employees. It was starting to get dark though, I think I'll come back tomorrow.
No.
I teleported to the nearby tower the next day, and didn't even mind clearing out the place again. Not only will I get the extra loot and experience, I'm just having fun. The employees I was looking for were frozen in the ice, and I used my torch to start thawing them out.
I need to find something to eat.
That's it.
This last one had a bonus zombie inside, along with the card I needed.
Hello.
I cleared out the generator again, and then my marker directed me past this chunk of ice, which I remembered from yesterday. I was prepared this time, but still ended up on the run.
Oh. I got a shotgun, and I'm glad about that.
Behind it was some stairs leading to a basement, where I found more ice, some zombies,
Pow.
and the cute little deviation causing all the trouble, this snow sprite. Mission accomplished. I found another weapons crate before I left, and made my way to unlock another teleportation tower, then stopped back by Mooseville to find the other crates there. It was easy enough, I lucked out and found them both in the first building I searched. I don't remember the level up making that sound before. I disassembled all the goodies I'd found back at home that night, and then put out the Snow Sprite, which likes blue light. So I put one above its box and started unlocking some more things. I played around with these armor and weapon mods too, even though I had no idea what I was doing. Does my torch need a mod? Probably not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Day 14 started with me trading quests again with Mr. Lowe.
Been busy, Mayfly.
Grabbing a quick pic of this lake and running out of fuel as I made my way to unlock another teleport tower.
Oops. Oh no.
From there, I glided my way over to the first securement silo. This guy named T-Man was waiting for me with a bounty.
Take a look, and you'll see he's earned his death sentence.
In the building behind him was the entrance to the silo. These work sort of like dungeons. You can run them multiple times and at higher difficulties later too. You can also team up with up to 3 other players, but this one I'll be taking on alone. It started with some stairs and a fire trap,
Oh my god.
which was a lot faster than I expected.
Okay.
I eventually made my way through it to find more fire on the other side. A flamethrower held by a vulture. My shotgun took care of that though. Further up, there were plenty more to shoot. A few more than I was prepared for, actually. I retreated back up the stairs and took a more careful approach next. Well, until I rolled right over the edge. Oops.
No! Oh, that was dumb.
Back to cover, I used an activator to heal, almost rolling off again. 2 years in, and I still struggle with dodging and crouching on the keyboard.
Stop it. Yeah. Oh, no.
Once I finished the last of them, I got a notification about elite units. Oh, great. I had enough fun with the regular ones. I appreciate a good challenge, though, and went in with a Molotov first. Then took out the normal enemies flanking him. The big one had a shield, and I tossed a couple more Molotovs as he followed me up the stairs. He set me on fire too, and I unloaded my shotgun on him. With the place finally clear, I looted everything I could find,
Woo.
including this little paper doll deviation. Ooh, that's cute. There was more fire in the way next, then a gear crate and more fire. Yay.
Oop, punch me.
At the end was another area with more vultures to fight,
Oh yeah.
and an interesting stage I did some push-ups on. I was able to turn off this fire blocking the next room,
That's good.
then threw in some fire of my own. This creep spooked me next, hiding in plain sight behind this fence. One more fire roll later, though, and I made it into the final room, where something odd happened as I walked in. It said to find the anomaly in the region, and as I wandered on the stage, I think I sure found it. I was teleported to an arena with a giant, crazy-looking stage in front of it, with a very large vulture playing guitar. The guitar wasn't just any guitar, though. It was a literal axe, and between licks, he was slinging fire at me with it. When I got him down to about half his health, he did a stage dive and jumped into the arena too, where my shattered maiden deviation was waiting. After he thawed, he came after me. He was big and slow though, making it pretty easy to dodge his attacks and get in a few shots of my own, before the maiden froze him again, allowing me to finish him off. Well, that was fun. I grabbed this Invincible Sun deviation and the rewards before taking a portal back out and immediately teleporting home. Before the sun came up on day 15, I unlocked the ability to add more of these securement units, and added 5 of them upstairs. I had a few new ones and decided to put the combat ones upstairs, and this new paper doll that collects random scrap around your house downstairs with the Digbies. I added some lights upstairs too to make them happier.
Christmas colors.
Then I added these fluorescent lights to make me happier. After that, I realized I needed to go back and talk to T-Man to finish the securement silo quest. Yeah, I should have done that while I was here last night, but at least I've got my bike. Now off to Fort Obsidian. This is a stronghold of the Vultures and their leader Igna. They were higher levels than I'd dealt with yet, and I was careful to pick them off and not attract too many at once. I eventually found this guy named Micah, who after convincing I wanted
You've come to join our movement, haven't you?
to join the Vultures, gave me the entrance location.
I'll mark the entrance for you.
I hopped on my bike and headed up the mountain, fighting through a few more on the way. Inside the mountain was the entrance and lots more of the vultures, along with a couple other players who must be on the same mission. I cleared out the place, grabbing plenty of scrap as I went. Then at the top, ran into a big boss that looked a lot like the one from the securement silo. This time, he wasn't playing the axe though, only trying to kill me with it. I had my snow sprite deviation to help this time, and I almost died. Then I added my first friend, Talkit. It was more a silent friendship, but nice all the same. I activated the rift anchor here and finished the mission using space-time to see this after image, while some more vultures took the opportunity to sneak up on me. I dealt with them and then headed back inside to plant some explosives. Igna wasn't here, and now nothing else will be either. I went back up top to explore for a while after blowing everything up. Maybe I can find some more vultures to shoot and goodies to grab. It was back home that evening where I put out another paper doll.
Oh,
Not even noticing that this one was skill level 4. Now back to Camp Igloo to check in with Wendy.
What about that assault they're planning? Did you learn anything useful about that?
Even better, I blew up all their stuff.
Really? Amazing! Thank you.
On to the next quest. Something about an amusement park. Sounds fun to me. After all that, I'd collected quite a lot of scrap and made myself this new Tier 2 sniper rifle. I also picked up some stardust source somewhere and used it to calibrate my guns before hitting the road to Wishland. On the way, I met some new animals. I didn't intend to murder them all, it just sorta happened. And this must be Mr. Wish.
it's so cute.
This place was full of creepy deviants, and after sorting through most of them, I found the actual Mr. Wish to talk to.
Welcome, visitor, to Mr. Wish's Wishland Amusement Park. I hope you are ready to enjoy yourself.
He said to follow the rules, but the sign was covered with some black goo, and I couldn't read it. I'm really not that great with rules anyway. Maybe I can just go around shooting everything.
Oh, okay.
In this little restaurant, I found a recipe for some popcorn, along with a nice surprise in the freezer.
Excuse me?
Then moved on to the gift shop like I was supposed to.
Everything you need.
There were more enemies inside, and a note that I did read, just not that well. It sent me after a lost doll in the park, and I could hear it talking the whole way. I'm not sure if I want to find this doll or not. I did anyway, though, and it sang a song. So I said something very nice. Which must have been the wrong thing because I got to restart. I read the letter better this time, noticing a part about reprimanding the doll at the bottom. Oh, okay. And this time when I found the doll, I told it to shut up instead. I felt a little bad about it, but it was being really creepy.
Nice work. That sent them packing.
With that done, I looted a bit and headed back to the gift shop. I found a couple of the good crates at this little carnival ride on the way. Then at the shop, there was another note. To the carousel. When I got there, this big balloon guy, called the new hire, nearly killed me before he got fired. After I healed, I made sure to shoot the balloon first on the next one, then cleared out all the bad guys before going to read the carousel guide. This time I read everything very carefully, having learned my lesson the last time, and went to find the kid that looked different from the rest.
Everyone disappeared. Now I don't have to wait in line.
It only creeped me out a little bit, and now it looks like it's time for the animal show. I stopped for a picture on the way and headed through the castle following the marker, which led to this pit full of corrupted bears and wolves, with only rope bridges above. Yeah, this wasn't the animal show I was expecting. I dealt with the deviants and one bear that was hanging out on a bridge. Then as I started to explore, I found the way down. About that time though, all these wolves found the way up. I managed to keep them off me, just barely. You know what? I think I might just come back tomorrow. Oh look, there's Talkit again. I scrapped all the scrap the next morning, switched to the Invincible Sun deviation, crafted myself another helium and more ammo, then hit the road back to Wishland. I activated this teleportation tower on the way and found an alternate entrance this time with some goats and whatever the heck this thing is. I was right across from the bear pit and could see the big monster that Talkit had been fighting. Not sure how I missed it before, but I guess I won't be that lucky this time. I made my way over and started the fight, putting out my new deviation. At this point, I didn't know you could throw it, so it just started exploding right next to me. I guess I thought it would run to the enemy like my Shattered Maiden, or roll maybe. Instead, I recalled it and took care of things the old-fashioned way. It was back to the bear pit next, where I cleared out everything on top and Molotoved most of the wolves down below. Then, these two snuck up on me as I was trying to shoot this bear. I finally made it to the animal show after that, where I read this sign that was the guide. I had to go in the pit next and cleared out the rest of the animals in it. There was a crate and some animal food in this den, which apparently I'm supposed to feed to some animals. While I was trying to figure out which one was which, one of the corrupted bears surprised me. I dealt with it and eventually got all of the animals taken care of, making my way to the Dino Museum next. Ooh, my favorite. This big claw machine guy was back again too, and this time I put my sun deviation out close enough to hit him. It was a close one for me when this big teddy bear almost took me out, but after a quick heal, I was back in the fight and finished it again for some extra reward. The Dino Museum was another one of Mr. Wish's games,
Welcome to Mr. Wish's Dinosaur Museum.
where I ended up finding this painting, which sent me to the Ferris wheel. I got a bit lost on the way, riding the roller coaster for a while instead.
Oh. Woo!
Activating this rift anchor and reading a helpful whisper someone had left. By the time I found the way, it was early day 18.
Aha.
And waiting for me was an evil-looking mess of balloons. It had tentacle-looking things coming out of the bottom instead of strings, and despite giving me the heebie-jeebies, it wasn't too difficult to deal with. There was also this guy that one of the notes had warned me about. I focused fire on the balloons holding him up, and rolled and rolled and rolled to avoid his attacks. Once he was dealt with, I spotted Mr. Wish. First, though, this fancy mystical crate.
Hello! Welcome!
Since I'd made it to the end, Mr. Wish had promised me a wish,
And have earned yourself a wish from me, Mr. Wish himself.
which I used to wish him right into my backpack.
I am Mr. Wish, and I have granted you one wish. That's true, and I can't refuse that wish, so I suppose... Yes, I'm afraid I must grant your wish.
I activated one more teleportation tower on the way back to Camp Igloo, where Lo was waiting with my reward. Back home, I found a nice surprise.
Corn.
Before putting Mr. Wish in securement and sinking him straight to my backpack. Aw, isn't he cute? Apparently, he can shoot enemies. I had a ton of scrap from my visit to Wishland. Plus, I'd leveled up so much I had a bunch of points to use too, and spent the rest of the evening unlocking things. That night, things got a bit more interesting. After grabbing another quest from Maisley, I ran into the walking bus again. Or more like it ran into me.
Oh.
Then I noticed this big portal-looking thing in the distance. When I walked into the fog under it, there was a Gatling gun waiting, but I just chickened out and ran away instead.
No.
Right into a horde of spiders. Okay, never mind, I'll take the gun. Despite my initial panic, this little minigame ended up being pretty fun.
I did it. Oh, take it or leave it. I'm taking it. Oh, I got some little deviation car. Bye-bye. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Now I want to know what's up this tree.
I went up this big tree next, where I found some bird eggs, then spotted this cute little balloon riddle spot. Fought some buffalo for this teleportation tower, then did some very questionable driving. By morning, I'd made my way to a place called Whalebone, in a new region called the Vina Fjord. This place was friendly and full of quests, sort of like Camp Igloo. I chatted with someone new named Ethel first, then Mr. Lowe was here and Maisley too. After I collected all their quests, I headed down to the water to find this hydronaut fish for Lowe. I talked with him for a while too, then had to catch a fish. I'm supposed to put it in a tank at my house, but I'd like to do a few other things while I'm out first. I headed to another quest when things got extra dark for some reason, making me rethink things.
Whoa.
I continued anyway and got a notice about stardust pollution, but it didn't seem to be affecting my sanity yet. Noticing several other campsites, I decided to place my own, then headed towards the marker. Everything was low level here and pretty easy to kill, except for this shadowy guy that I couldn't figure out what to do with. I'm pretty sure someone mentioned them, but I wasn't listening very well. I tried shooting it and even using my torch.
No!
Eventually just jumping up on this rooftop and gliding over the fence to get away. I'll figure that out later, I'm sure. Continued blasting through some basic enemies, and then this very creepy umbrella guy, and an even creepier traffic light head. I was much higher level though, and they were easy enough to deal with. Now let me get this mystical crate and get out of here. Think I might just go home. While I was there, I placed that fish tank and put the fish inside, then went back the next morning to get the hydronaut fish. Lo seemed pretty happy about it, and I headed back to the dark place again after that. I'd missed a quest with this lady named Cora. It was an interesting one, involving a stun baton and those shadowy enemies, which are apparently called the Duskin. I really should have listened better. I didn't fully understand and just heard something about hitting these generators with the baton to turn them on. So I ran and did just that, never realizing that the lights I was turning on would remove the shadow of the Duskin and allow me to attack them. That's okay though, I managed it anyway and restored power to the harbor. On my way out, I waved at this guy. You hiding from the shadow people too? I told Ethel I'd saved the team and reported back home, where I decided to go off on another excursion when I ended up in a mess. It turned dark and I started to get hypothermia, but found that I couldn't teleport back home because it had a cooldown timer. Panicking a bit, I took out my torch and then jumped off this bridge when I was still too cold. Maybe it will be warmer down the mountain a bit. I was still too cold when I landed though, and threw out a Molotov for a bit of warmth instead. It didn't last long, and I thought I was going to die when I remembered I'd eaten something different for lunch insteed of my usual spiked tomatoes. So I scarfed some down and somehow managed to survive. I think I might unlock this furnace now. After all that, some extra warmth at home might be nice. Day 21 started with me playing on the wish machine. Turns out it's sort of like whack-a-mole, and you win blueprints and blueprint fragments. And blueprints are how you unlock new weapons and armor to craft. I'd found some already in the mystical crates, but you can spend these purple Starcrom here to play for them or buy them. I just didn't realize it was cost per hit and not cost per game, spending all my Starcrom.
Oh, I'm out of money. Boo.
Well, it was fun while it lasted. I made my helium for the day after that, along with some extra activators, and then headed off to Wishland West. This side of Wishland looked a lot different. It was dark and stormy here, and it wasn't long until I saw another of the shadowy Duskin. I didn't even realize it was sneaking up on me until it was too late, but as it moved into the light to attack me, it turned back to normal. Ooh, so I just have to lead them to the light. I ran into another one of these big claw machine monsters next, and then as I was trying to figure out how to deal with the next Duskin, another player came along. Hello there. They went ahead, and just as I thought they were having trouble, they used something to reveal the Duskin from their pocket. Well, whatever it was, I want one.
How'd you do that?
I continued, following them for a moment, leading one Duskin to the light and then making my way inside.
Need to stay safe.
So leave. Leave me alone.
That must be our deviation.
Where I met Gazokio, or Gazaccio as I called him for most of my playthrough, another deviation that Lo had sent me after. There was also something new called a charging mailbox here, which it looks like needs some batteries. I went searching for them and followed Gazokio too. Despite the creepiness, he was actually very nice and hopped right in my backpack. Then I gathered the last battery to see what was in the mailbox. Blueprints! I grabbed a gear crate too before teleporting home and out of that creepy place. On my map next, I noticed this big red eye, which had a teleport option. Why not? When I got there, I found this place covered in black goo. But I was clearly late to the party. At least I got a goodie bag though. Then I ended up at another of these portals with the Gatling gun. I expected spiders again and was surprised to find one big monster instead. I could hardly see it in the fog and ended up in a bit of trouble after the Gatling gun ran out of ammo.
Run away.
Somehow I didn't die. I think that's enough fun for today though. Day 22, I made some new upgraded workbenches, where I made a better pickaxe and this new tier 3 jacket. I wanted to do some quests at the Taiga Containment Center that day, and thought I might unlock this teleportation nearby, when I got quite the shock. As I came out of this tunnel, a boss bar appeared with this giant metal jellyfish in the sky called a Chaos Weaver. Well, it weaved some chaos for me at least. Guess I'm not going that way today. I drove back around and just went straight to the containment center instead. The guards there gave me a bit of trouble, and I decided maybe I could climb this mountain to unlock the teleport tower instead. At first, it looked like there was a path up until I got to this part. But where there's a will, there's a way. A few goat hops later, and the path was smooth again all the way to the tower. Well, other than the Chaos Weaver bar looming over me, I wonder if it can see my health bar. I chickened out on this place for now and teleported back over to Fort Obsidian to take care of some unfinished business. I'd missed a quest for this guy, and spent the evening looting the place. I got a quest on day 23 to protect this truck and meet up with a guy named Roland.
Looks like the perfect place for an ambush. Keep your eyes peeled.
It seemed a bit suspicious, and when I got there, it was this lady named Veronica instead.
Roland led a team to Ember Strand.
Turns out he'd gone on some mission in a place called Ember Strand and never came back. Well, that's not good. I'm sure I'll be going to get him later.
The vultures are attacking.
For now, though, it looks like we've got some vultures to fight off. After the fight, she sent me to a place called the Bear's Den, and I think my GPS sent me on the scenic route. I drove and drove, taking a detour where I found these new polar pepper, an interesting ore, and a tower to activate. Then I got sidetracked taking a picture and driving up these rocks for another tower. I eventually made it to the Bear's Den, which, despite the name, is actually a friendly place. There was another tower to activate and a picture to take. I bought a scope and some string lights I really didn't need, then found Veronica again to check in.
How are you?
She gave me another vulture quest, but I wanted to try again for the Taiga Containment Center, over by that Chaos Weaver. It was going a lot better, and I made it pretty far before my helium ran out and I had to go back home. I didn't even go back the next day and ended up doing a bit of sightseeing at this ship instead. I found a souvenir there and completely forgot again that the Glutton has weak spots. At the end of the day, I turned in all the pictures for Camp Igloo to Hot Dog, then headed home for the night. I started the next morning early, changing my appearance with this mirror to finish a journey quest. This place has been pretty rough on me. Then I finally went back to the Taiga Containment Center.
Check it out.
Where I had to take some pictures of these whiteboards. After that, I ran right into this Rosetta Heavy I was supposed to kill, hiding in the shadows. Then I ended up at this puzzle
In the
there.
blue frame? Oh. Ooh, it did it.
Another player was there too, in a very cute dino suit. I took the info back to Wendy and headed off to see Mr. T-Man again for another securement silo. This one is called EX1, and it sure was an interesting one. It was full of level 20 Rosetta employees, which were easy enough to deal with. Then I took an elevator down to find myself in some sort of lab. I asked the employees there nicely for their access card, and used it to get into the next room, where things got even more fun. These guys had drones, and I had to send in my Shattered Maiden. I borrowed their access card too and used it to meet some more Rosetta guards who were protecting this gear crate. Then onto this prison area with plenty more guards and several deviants locked away in cells. I decided to use this button to let them all out. I'd rather deal with them on my own terms instead of getting surprised later. The next room held pretty much the same, and I let the monsters out there too. Well, after dealing with all the guards, of course. I'd been fighting a lot of lower level enemies, and these were giving me more trouble than I was used to. Time to let the monsters out. One of their empty cells had a glowing purple door inside, and it teleported me to the real monster. Mr. Red Light, Green Light here. I absolutely did not get it at first, obliviously running around when the light turned red, or trying to. It froze me and lowered my sanity, leaving me with a lower total health. Luckily, I had a sanity gummy, but then I did it again. The third time it turned red, I thought maybe I'd just hide. I still didn't get the point, but I was holding still, so it worked all the same. The fourth time, I was in a bit of a mess fighting, and it got me again. I rushed through these enemies before the fifth red light hit, finally catching on and just waiting after it turned yellow. Okay, now I've got this. I let all the monsters loose here too, and failed at catching this little bunny deviation. Found another gear crate in this room, and was afraid to come out because I couldn't see the monster. I eventually escaped, and then made my way out through another portal to this crazy place. I was happy to be away from the traffic lights at first, until I realized this was even worse. This place has the lights too, and a big claw machine. He threw a teddy bear at me, and I was able to do a big chunk of damage before the light turned red. A shield appeared after that though, and my shattered maiden ran in and did the rest. I remembered this time to check in with T-Man to finish the quest.
I've got nothing to say.
That was a stressful one. I think I might need a nap. I upgraded my armor at home and took care of a couple journey challenges, then headed right off for some more action on day 26. This time it was the Hive Rail restricted area, full of more Rosetta. I fought through most of them pretty easily, except I didn't plan very well and ended up having to take little warmth breaks with my torch when I started getting too cold. After dealing with a couple different elite enemies, I made my way into the lab, fought my way through the enemies there, and then chatted with this researcher in some sort of breeding chamber.
Too late anyway. Right now the vultures have the results.
It sent me to another place here next, through this main entrance. It was all well guarded too, and led me to a very interesting room.
What a strange sight with these railroad tracks reaching into the sky.
V had a lot to say about it, and I still didn't really get it. Sure makes me think of that crazy-looking Chaos Weaver I ran into, though. I spent most of the next day in that place, too, looting and exploring, trying to see what else I could find. Down at the bottom, there were plenty of deviants and a bunch of black goo. I wasn't sure if I could cross it or not. I think I might come back later. The rest of the day I went looking for a new neighborhood. I wanted to move closer to the higher level areas and also find somewhere sort of flat when I got distracted by another of these portal things called Mist Zones. This one had eggs to blast while deviants tried to kill me, which was pretty good fun. Then I settled on a spot to move to late that night. This game makes it amazingly easy to do that. All I had to do was go into build mode to move my whole house, storage and all. There were a few rocks in the way, but with a few adjustments I think I can make it work. I stayed home gathering things and worked on the house the next day. I'd unlocked a fridge and electricity a while ago. There's just so much happening, I forgot to mention it. Now though, I've unlocked a new stove that works on electricity instead of burning wood, plus makes some new better recipes too. It was a new week and I loaded up on these commissions again from V. Most of them are pretty easy to earn energy and experience, plus they make me feel good when I complete them. Kinda like these Mist Zones. Look, it's a bunch of floating jellyfish this time. I dropped by the Bear's Den again that day too, chatting about quests and buying a few things. I bought a few more of these new accessories for my guns, which looked to improve their stats. Of course, I had to go test them out next. I went to this place nearby, the Tundra Monolith. It looked like it had some better scrap materials to gather, and I thought I might activate the tower so I could teleport there. It was a noticeable improvement for my gun, making it a lot more accurate with less recoil. And there were plenty of Rosetta enemies to test it out on, along with scrap to gather. I found several of these good crates too. By the end of my little trip, I'd made it to the bottom of the monolith, which is another sort of dungeon with a big boss to fight. It was getting dark and cold though, so I decided to go home. I was smelting steel now and had unlocked some better ammo too. I also remembered this mod crate I'd gotten at some point and opened it. I didn't fully understand how they worked, but I figure it must be a good thing. That night I stayed up working on my base more, turning this workshop area into a little covered porch. Then added some random decorations around and reorganized a bit. I made this new vehicle the next morning and took it for a spin. Oops, wrong seat. It didn't seem to be as fast as my motorcycle, but it looked cool. It was home again after that, working on putting out some of the new deviations I'd collected and trying to give them the lights they liked, then put up some more lights I liked. I unlocked these planter boxes too and planted a variety of things, and finished the day doing just one more of these foggy monster challenges. Day 30 started with the server entering a new phase.
Phases change things about the game depending on the scenario. In this case, unlocking a bit of climate change, a new area on the map, and opening hard mode in the dungeons. I went to Whalebone first that day to chat with Maisley for my next quest. Then I decided to finally deal with this journey quest in the corner and try to join a hive. It seemed easy enough, you just apply to one from this menu, but I'm a bit the shy and anxious type, so I just couldn't make a decision, then chickened out and didn't apply to any of them. Maybe tomorrow. For now, let's just go shoot some stuff. And that's exactly what this quest required. After slaughtering through a ton of vultures, I made it to the Frost Forge at the bottom of this set of zip lines, where I found a bunch more vultures and then Igna's messenger. I started the fight with a Molotov, then completely lost it for a minute with my torch for some reason, before getting back on track with my shotgun for this mystical bear. I'd just set my shattered maiden loose when this vulture snuck up and whacked me with his umbrella. The maiden had frozen Igna's messenger though, allowing me to finish it off. There was a crate here with a blueprint inside, and then another Rosetta researcher to chat with.
Please don't kill me.
I've been getting plenty of this Chaosium stuff from the vultures, but didn't know what to do with it yet. For the last part of this quest, I had to collect it from a few different barrels and overload the furnace. Then I got to ride the zip lines back up and find my way out just in time to see the explosion.
Vultures are a bit crazier than I thought.
Back home, just after midnight, this big truck rolled up in front of my house and stopped, which eventually led to it exploding for a fun new minigame. This one was PvP, and next thing I knew, I had this big jellyfish thing on my head. At this point, I didn't know it was PvP until this random player started shooting at me. Excuse you. It didn't take me long to figure out it was everyone against the person with the jellyfish head, and I really didn't do that well, but I had fun and that's all that matters, right? I meandered around my base that day, having a look at what some of the new deviations did. This bunny gathers random plants or seeds, the fish seawater and, well, fish. Gazokyo defends the place and makes these lights which reveal the Duskin, and this space turner makes cubes for these space twisters, which you can use to teleport a teammate. That's cool. Now I just have to find some teammates. I finished up a couple more random journeys, dropped in the bear den again, then thought about doing something else until I teleported into negative 25-degree weather I was completely unprepared for. Oops. Instead, I popped right back home and got to work on building this new synthesis bench for explosives, along with its own personal generator. Then I went to collect some wood for charcoal for smelting. I hadn't had to chop down any trees for a while, and at this new place they were a lot further away. I think I'll just spend the evening chopping so I don't have to do it again for another long while. After all that, you know what I just unlocked? An electric furnace that doesn't even use wood. And was that a dream, or did I just do another one of those mist zones last night?
Helping our trained Rosetta containment squads.
Day 32, I made myself some upgraded Tier 3 armor and calibrated it as much as I could, then set off determined this time to reach the teleportation tower at the Tundra. First try, I teleported and realized I'd forgotten the roasted spiked tomatoes I needed to stay warm. After a quick trip home, I teleported back only to freeze to death anyway. The Chaos Weaver here was wreaking havoc on the weather, and I barely even managed to get my stuff back without dying again before teleporting home. I knew I had to find a way to deal with the temperature better, and went to searching the Mimetics screen when I found just what I needed, this Chaosium lantern. I even had it unlocked already with all the stuff to make it. Of course, I just hadn't been paying good attention. It just goes on your hotbar and consumes Chaosium to keep you warmer or cooler depending on your surroundings, and you don't even have to carry it, leaving me free to shoot away. Also, about that armor I made earlier, turns out I had all sorts of blueprint fragments here in this very obvious blueprint tab, with much better armor to unlock I could have made instead. Daggone it. I headed out in my new armor anyway, picking up a quest from Maisley to control 4 rift anchors in Vina Fjord to unlock the monolith there. I already had one and set off to take on this lower level place full of deviants first. Then made a quick return to Wishland West to get the one there, and finally back to that very dark harbor-looking place.
With 4 of the rift anchors controlled now, I could access the avalanche monolith, but I still hadn't even dealt with the first tundra monolith. Looks like I've got a new goal. It said a team of 4 was recommended, so maybe a good start would be to try again for joining a hive. I tried not to stress too much and just selected this little box for hives recruiting, then picked out a few that looked promising. I figured if I applied to several, I'd have a better chance of getting accepted, and finally get this journey quest off my screen. This day had a pretty interesting ending. I finished it at a fishing party. This nice lady there had some different bait I could buy. Then I cast my hook in this very colorful splashing water. Turns out it wasn't too much of a party, just me and the fish at first. Eventually though, another player joined in, and we fished for a while until someone else showed up too. And next thing I knew, the pond had turned blue. I wasn't sure what would happen if we kept going, and eventually it turned from blue to gold and got even bigger. I'd run out of bait though and was just about to give up when this big deviated crocodile showed up. It was easy enough to deal with, and we all jumped right in like Steve Irwin. Well, that was fun. I even made 2 new friends. I spent half the next day fixing fish tanks for all the cool fish I'd caught, unlocked a ton of stuff, gathered a bunch of ore, then I might have cooked the rest of the fish. Sorry, no more room for fish tanks. Things started off nice on day 35. I ended up getting accepted into one of those hives. It was called the Deep End, and I didn't really know what to do with that just yet, but was pretty happy about it all the same. Then I made this very cool looking tier 3 rifle and calibrated it before heading off to this securement silo that was right in my new backyard. T-Man was waiting with a bounty, of course, and so was this other player waiting outside the doors. I thought maybe it'd be fun to team up, starting my own team and inviting them. I was completely unprepared though. Clearly they've done this before. They skipped the elevator and blasted through all the enemies. This gooey place slowed them down for just long enough that I got a few shots in, then they were off again. These silos can be run again and again for some of the loot and goodies inside. This just happened to be my first time. I was excited to get to kill a few things here, then grabbed this deviation, and by the time I'd made it through, my new friend had already disabled all the laser traps and was opening the final door. I didn't know it was the last one, but I have a feeling they did. It led to a big boss fight that was definitely still very exciting. Oh! And despite my OP friend, I almost died anyway before we defeated it. I grabbed the loot and left, thankful for the free goodies. Maybe by the end of this, I'll be able to run one that fast. Probably not knowing me, but I guess we'll have to see. On day 36, I stayed home rearranging things so I could fit more of these cute little deviations in my house. Look at this new ice pod and electric eel I got. I set off again to unlock the teleportation tower at the Tundra Monolith next. Things started out rough. I forgot my roasted spiked tomatoes to stay warm and had to go back home, where I fell off my roof and broke my legs. Okay, let's try this again. It was still really cold here from the Chaos Weaver's storm. This time I had the cold resist from the food, helium in my pocket, and the Chaosium lantern to keep me warm. I fought through a bunch of Rosetta guards and some really tough heavies. Grabbed a nice crate, and then as the evening set in, I followed this last bit of road through the mountain. At the top, more guards were waiting with their drones, so I showed them my new purple gun. One more tiny stretch of road later, and I was finally at the top, just in time for night and a temperature drop. As I activated the tower, I was about to freeze and quickly teleported home. Mission complete. Now, time for some video games. Early on day 37, I stopped by the Bear's Den to chat with Severin. I wanted to buy some accessories for my new purple rifle before teleporting over to the Tundra Monolith again. I dealt with the guards outside easily enough. Then nervously made my way inside. I stopped to read this whisper someone had left, but at the time it just seemed a little bit like gibberish. I'm gonna blame my ADHD. I think it was definitely getting the best of me. There was a big red glowing globby thing past the guards, where you can enter the monolith like a dungeon. It recommended 4 players, but I was well above level 20 and figured why not. When I got inside with the boss, this secret servitor, all I could remember on that note was something about pillars.
Oh, no. Pillars.
It didn't help that I was completely ignoring this too. Reading is clearly not my strong suit. I was supposed to stay by the light pillars, not just any old pillar. See this little red marker down here that keeps counting up? If you don't go in the light, it starts killing you. So even though I was doing decent damage myself, it wasn't long before the darkness damage took me down. I managed to use an adrenaline shot to come back while my shattered maiden was doing some serious work. I'm pretty sure I just got carried by this little doll with a paper bag on its head. Wonder what that shiny big pillar's for. Back home that day, I put up this new sign and took a quick nap to clear up my sanity, claimed some of these journey rewards, made some new Molotovs, then tested out these deviation items. I turned in a quest at Bear's Den that evening and stopped by this glowing ice I couldn't figure out that I feel a bit dumb about now. Oh, and unlocked another teleportation tower guarded by buffalo. I grabbed another picture for Hot Dog too, over by the new Ember Strand region. It sure looks a lot warmer there. I'll have to go check that out soon. Shh, I don't have a problem. I can stop doing these mist zones anytime I want. Day 38, I went after a couple of the teleportation towers in Vina Fjord, including one at the Avalanche Monolith. With my Chaosium Lantern, the cold was much easier to deal with, and I decided to loot the place while I was there. Looks like this one is recommended for 2 level 30 players, so after that mess at the Tundra, I think I'll come back later. Then I spent the evening activating the rift anchor at some place called Broken Bridge.
Oh, maybe too much go. Too much go.
When I got there, it was heavy with pollution, and out front I found something I'd been looking for. Stardust ore, which I can turn into Stardust Source at my furnace, thanks to a specialization I chose. And I've been needing more of it to calibrate my gear better. There wasn't a lot, but so far I'd found none, so I'll take it. I ended up back at this Hive Rail restricted area again on day 39. Apparently I'd forgotten to activate the rift anchor here, and hadn't gotten the mystical crate either. Which, thanks to a whisper I read, I knew it was at the top of this crazy mess. I made my way up, killing plenty of monsters and grabbing another crate on the way, and then at the top there was another whisper.
Why, thank you. I did do a good job.
I'd leveled up while I was out and picked some new upgrades, including this solar drill specialization that I'll forget about for a while, and claiming another of these rewards. Running low on meme points for unlocking things, I realized these season goals get you a ton and started having a look at them next. First, I did one to calibrate a weapon up to 6, taking this one all the way to 7. Then I had another low-level quest to kill this Arbiter, and used the opportunity to knock out this execution season goal. After that, I took my SUV to the Delta securement silo because my motorcycle needed repairs, and set my sights on completing it in hard mode, until I saw the description for hard mode. You know what? Maybe we'll just go for normal mode and shoot for this throwables against vultures goal instead.
Boom. Boom. And a boom. Oh yeah.
Well, that was fun. I continued through the rest of the dungeon, gathering all the goodies and experience.
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
My newly calibrated gun making the boss fight a walk in the park. Definitely will be trying this one on hard mode next time. I'd completed enough season goals at this point for the next reward, earning myself a bunch of meme points, and spent those on animal farming. Then when I went to unlock something a little more important, like this gear bench, I realized I was out of something else this time: energy links. I spent the next morning trying to catch myself a buffalo, killing several by accident first, until this one. I hit it with my only tranquilizer dart and put it in my pocket. Then went home and built in a little fenced-in area with a feeding trough.
Yes. That's kind of cute. I like it.
Guess I should have thought about what I was going to feed it first, though. Grow corn, grow. I kept it in storage for now, wouldn't want it to starve to death, then headed back to the PSI securement silo in my backyard. I think you can get energy links from the bosses here, and I really wanted to try this one on my own anyway. It was easy enough at first, but then things got a bit difficult. Then easy again, and then even more difficult. Ooh, I get to go through the lasers this time. At the end, I made my way into the boss fight, where I found what looked like a giant fridge to fight. I got in some damage before getting distracted by all its deviant minions. Realizing I should probably just focus fire on the big guy or I'd be here all day, I started moving in a circle, running from the deviants, and stopping occasionally to shoot. Towards the end of the fight, one of these big gluttons showed up too. Nope, I'm just dealing with your boss today, buddy. I was pretty happy with myself to defeat it on my own this time, and even got a couple thousand energy links out of the deal. I think after all that, I might go to bed early today. Good night. I dropped back in at the Frost Forge on day 42. I needed some different scrap and wanted to check out what was through these crazy looking portal hands I'd missed before. I leveled up there too and got plenty of loot. Then back home that night, I got started on building a Stardust filter. I'd seen other players have them in a separate building, and from what I was reading, it seemed like when you run these, you'll have to defend it. So I set it up in a little stone house with some turrets outside, and this is when I learned you can only have a limited number of generators. Guess I'll have to rearrange a few things.
Boo.
At least I can use this building flight mode, which is pretty amazing, by the way. I rewired everything. It wasn't pretty, but I think it'll do the job. I wasn't sure what to do with myself on day 43, and still running low on energy links, I just now noticed that you spend them to teleport. And I've been wasting them all along. But you can teleport for free to your house or someone's house in your hive. Ooh, that hive's gonna come in handy now. Luckily, the hive that had accepted me was a decent size, leaving me with a few extra teleport options, like Eve's house up by the hive rail. So I teleported there and ran through it just for fun. I did get a few energy links from the gear crates and plenty of other loot, along with a fun jump scare from this Morphic armor crate. Hope you've got some new pants in there. I moved on up the mountain after that, gathering goodies from the Rosetta enemies around the Avalanche Zone, finding another type of Morphic crate there, thanks to a whisper somebody left. This little yellow ring on my backpack was going off about it too. I just didn't know what it meant. So I used Q for space-time and saw this little chest with legs. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to kill it, but decided to in the end. And look, I got a gingerbread house deviation out of it. I don't know what it does, but it's Christmas themed and I love it. Day 44, I teleported over to Merkal's house, which I didn't know was right in the middle of some pollution. I need to get out of it, but I can't pass up this Star Trace ore first. I was able to ride out pretty quick and made my way to the Rift Anchor at the entrance to the Zone of Haze. It was level 29 Rosetta here, and I fought through them with my favorite purple rifle. Music to my ears.
We're human beings, but the head honchos always call us assets.
Once I cleared out all the Rosetta assets and the loot, I went to check out this big door that was the Zone of Haze entrance. I wasn't sure exactly what it was until I checked my map and saw it listed for level 60 pro and 4 players. Yeah, I think I'll come back another time, thanks. I went home and slept off my insanity, then noticed this new red eye marker on my map with a teleport option. Sure, why not? It ended up being a challenge called Fatal Signal. I fought through a few guards and started this activation process first, which apparently signaled for all the other guards. I'm not sure if I was supposed to be defending it. At this point, I was just trying to stay alive. When I was almost completely overrun, I noticed the progress had stopped for a while, and I ended up having to go in and fix the machine. Eventually, though, the activation was done, and I had to kill 3 of these Rosetta mechanics to get some sort of code. They were tough, and it took me all evening. When I managed to get the code and put it in, though, things only got worse. Now I had a Rosetta Heavy to deal with. By the end, all of my armor was about to break, and I'd used over 1,000 rounds of ammo, but somehow I survived and took home some very nice rewards, including over 5,000 of those energy links I'd been needing. Oh, and there was a Rift Anchor here. Instead of repairing my helmet the next day, I just made a whole new Tier 4 one. I didn't have the materials for any more Tier 4 gear, so I repaired the rest and calibrated some things. Then decided to try and start a team for the Avalanche monolith. In just a few seconds, I had someone join. Tony. I didn't know how things worked really and rushed to teleport over, where I used a space turner to teleport him to, then fought through the guards to get to the entrance. At the time, I didn't know, but people usually just enter the dungeon and it automatically brings your team. So I was flying my noob flag high that day. That's okay though, he obliged and even killed all the unnecessary extra guards with me too. We entered after that, and I did something that was also a bit dumb. When the big boss tree ant cutscene started, well, I just watched.
It was when I noticed the gunfire, I realized that maybe he had, and the fight had probably already started. I loaded into absolute chaos, with Tony having already gotten it down to half its health, and me dying immediately. Oops. I used adrenaline to come back, then promptly got out my axe. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna cut it. Sorry, Tony. I got it together eventually, and we did defeat it. Then, on day 46, I put out a few more random defenses, deciding to finally try and use the Stardust filter. I was a bit nervous and started slow, only purifying a single level 1 Cortex. It brought level 15 Deviants to fight, which were no problem at all. Though they did manage to put a hole in my wall. So I fixed the hole and did it again, this time with a few level 1 Cortex. Things got a little crazier this round, with a big claw machine even showing up at the end. No. But I got a lot more Starcrom out of it. You know what? I don't have anywhere else to go today. Maybe I'll just do one more. It was almost the same. They even tried to attack my corn again, and the claw machine showed up at the end. Next time, I think I'll try the level 2 to purify. But for now, looks like they did enough damage to the place anyway. I had to go gather some gravel so I could repair everything. I finally put out that buffalo I caught the next morning. Yes. With a little bit of food I could make. You're stepping in the food, man. Then gathered more ore for most of the day. I definitely did not do another mist zone that night and almost freeze to death. I did get this shiny new stove though. Day 48, I reported back to Maisley about defeating the tree ant, though I didn't give her all the details, and then set my sights on a new place in the Ember Strand region, part of a quest to search for that guy named Roland. I talked to someone about that first, then grabbed any other quests I could, before gliding my way over to this place called the Sulphur Fields. I cleared it out, hoping for better scrap materials so I could finish upgrading all my armor, and also checked out this hot rock ore I couldn't figure out and grabbed some tungsten. On my way home, you'll never guess what I saw. Another of those mist zones I just couldn't resist. This one was in a higher level region, and with it came a higher level monster. With the help of my little bag-headed friend and a few Molotovs though, I managed to finish it off. I was still in the Ember Strand early on day 49, and fought through a ton of Rosetta guards and then plenty of deviants to get to this rift anchor that was guarded by this thing with a dish for a head. And it had a nice surprise for me when I got up close. Maybe I'll just stay back here, thanks. After all that excitement, I think I'll just do a simple teleportation tower next, and maybe try again for one of these hot rock ores. Somehow, I don't think I'm doing it right. In an attempt to get a few easy energy links, I took up an old quest for Wishland West. Have I mentioned yet I really hate this place? I didn't even see the weather forecaster enemy I was looking for, but I sure heard it just fine. Luckily, I was higher level and it wasn't a problem. Still gave me the creeps though. Now I think it's time to use all this stuff I've picked up to finish some more tier 4 armor. The morning of day 50, I teleported over to another Hive member's house named Helen. I ended up finding a Morphic crate there thanks to my backpack. Then a bunch of Star Trace ore, and finally what I'd been looking for, mint. Like the Spike Mado, it helps you deal with the temperature, but keeps you cool instead of warm. And I took it so I could visit the Fire God Research Center, where supposedly they are keeping Roland. The place was guarded by level 37 Rosetta enemies. I shot through them easily enough, activating the rift anchor and grabbing some goodies. Inside, I had a quest to take out this Rosetta Heavy. Then, after I cleared out the rest, I really wanted to get this deviation they had locked up, but couldn't figure it out and got back to the next quest, investigating this place.
Them to study the effects of Chaosium.
Rosetta apparently uses all sorts of stuff for its awful experiments on humans. Let's hope Roland isn't one of them. It sent me to search for him next, and there were plenty more guards in the way. It was pretty satisfying though, so I can't complain. After fighting my way through them, I found a cell with several column members. Just none of them were Roland. Apparently, he's so tough, he already escaped. I freed the others and led them past another mess of enemies to safety, where I opened this fancy blue gate for them.
You got the gate running!
We'll head through first, and see you on the other side, Mayfly.
Just let me grab this crate here first, and I'll be on through. I was fully prepared to pop out and fight something, and was a bit surprised to see it didn't go wrong somehow. And the most talkative of the bunch told me where I could probably find Roland.
Not too far from here, called Oblivion.
Off to Oblivion. It was another column base, and of course there he was, with a big, glowy, fiery-looking arm.
Yeah, it's my arm. Rosetta injected chaosium into it.
I guess they did do some experiments on him. We chatted for a while, and he gave me a quest, of course, to go to the burning city of Ashenton. I wonder if it was called that before it got burnt. Mr. Lowe was here too, with more deviation quests. Severin with his amazing gun accessory selection. And of course, Hot Dog, I'll take some more scenic pictures for you. I tested out this frozen fish I picked up first thing on day 51. I don't know where I got it, but I like it. Then went on to do another one of these fatal signal missions. I did better than last time, even though I'd spent way longer than I'd like to admit looking for a piece of the code I already had. Now, time for some calibration. I spent day 52 looking over all my new quests and crafting things at home. Look at my new smiley face sign. On day 53, I'd missed a quest for the secret servitor at the Tundra monolith and decided to give it a go again without my shattered maiden. Also, apparently without the appropriate cold resistance.
Come on now. We're warm. Oh, we're too warm.
Oops. I guess the warmth in the Ember Strand has spoiled me a bit. I re-equipped and returned. Let's try that again. I didn't freeze to death this time, so that's a good start. I took out the guards and got straight to business. The three-headed flying monster looked just as scary as before, and I hate to admit I still didn't realize that I was supposed to stand by the light pillars, only passing through them a couple times by chance instead. One day I'll learn to pay attention and read these things. Just don't mind me dying here. I really do deserve it. You know what'll make me feel better? Video games. I just love some good Whack-A-Llama. And even better, I want a blueprint for this fancy fiery shotgun. Out gathering tungsten in Ember Strand, I ran right up on another Chaos Weaver, which scared the pants off me. It seemed pretty chill though, so I just went around. I made this way through a nest of vultures, testing out my new shotgun, then grabbed a bit more ore before activating this rift anchor. I unlocked the ability to smelt tungsten the next day, then teleported over for this Paradise Lost mission again. Last time I was late, but not this time. After joining in on shooting some zombies, this big crazy thing started standing up. I put out this polar jelly deviation I'd found. I just don't think I got it close enough. And I still didn't know you could throw it. It was easy enough without it at only level 20. Sure looked cool though. Then it worked out because smelting tungsten requires acid, and all these deviant enemies drop it. I'll take that, thanks. I'd unlocked a biomass generator at that point and put one out back. It also unlocked more generator slots for more power. Excuse you, Gazokio. On day 56, I was so desperate for acid, I bought some for sproutlets from this jellyfish lady, then picked up a few more gun upgrades from Severin before finally making my way to Ashenton. It was apparently Igna's hometown, and he burned it to the ground. The place was full of deviants, which I was thankful for once. If you could just drop some acid for me, please, that would be great. As I got closer to the city, I heard something really creepy. Looks like it's this order keeper up on the bridge. Thankfully, that doesn't appear to be what my quest is for. Instead, I teamed up with this random pirate lady I met under the bridge, which made things even more fun. I'm a bit of a loner, but it was fun to team up with random people without having to share a house, or anything really. Ooh, speaking of my house, look, new decor. We activated the rift anchor at the top of this building, then I followed her off the edge right to this mystical crate. It was an after image for the quest next, and a crazy lady to fight with a lampshade on her head. I ended up fighting this thing that was in a bit of a maze after that, and watching another after image. The last after image got even more interesting, showing a young Igna this time. When it was over, around the side of the building, Roland was waiting with some other guy named Tang, who was talking a lot about Igna. I cleared out the building next, with one of these Duskin following me the whole time. I should have brought one of those lights Gazokio makes. I managed to lose him long enough to get this rift anchor, but then Mr. Shadow was back. If I could just get this gear crate here. I'd leveled up more and went confidently back to Ashenton the next day alone, looking for this deviation called tar pudding. I ended up facing another of these weather forecasts forecasters on the way, which was just as creepy as the last one. Then it wasn't much further before I found the little cutie sitting right in the middle of a lava flow. I had a bit of heat protection on me, but it was still too hot for me. Instead of jumping over the lava, I opted to take the safe option and just teleported out. Back home, I finally made something I should have made a long time ago. That solar drill. I had it unlocked for a while, just had put off making it. Geez, what was I thinking? Day 58, I went to see T-Man again, and this time he had some friends. I dealt with them, took a quick pick, and activated the rift anchor before chatting with him about the next bounty. This silo was very interesting looking inside, and fighting with the vultures there, I finally learned I could throw my polar jelly deviation. Oh. I cleared out the baddies and grabbed all the scrap, then walked right into a trap. Oops. I had to go through this painting to a very pretty looking place. It looked like a dream with a paint fountain and stairs I kept falling right through. Then it wasn't long until I ran into an enemy I kept shooting right through. So that's what the paint fountains are for. It still wasn't a very easy fight, but I managed to take him out in the end. And then moved on to the next painting, a couple more vultures, and one final painting that wouldn't let me change my mind. Another messenger was waiting, and I threw my polar jelly in to start the fight. It was a stressful one with mystical bears and wolves, some paint bubbles, vultures, and all sorts of fun. I'd finally defeated it by late that evening and got some nice rewards. Now if I can just get through these vultures to talk to T-Man again. Excuse me, I just want to talk to the TV guy here.
Welcome back.
I wouldn't mind this weapons crate too though, thanks, and then I'll just make a quick escape. I ended up back at the Hive Rail on day 59, hunting this mechanic, where I decided to poke this Chaos Weaver that had shown up there, which went about how I had expected it.
Oh, dang.
I calibrated some stuff at home after that and made my way back to Ashington one more time, looking for something called a Chaos Weevil. I ran into a Scorcher first, and then whatever this thing was. Maybe a Chaos Weasel. Ooh. Once I finally dealt with it, I moved on to the actual Chaos Weevil, and boy was it fun. I really wanted to throw my polar jelly at it, but kept messing up, and eventually gave in just shooting the crazy thing. Whew. Good night. I started out the next morning with a quick game on the wish machine. Each new phase opens up a new set of blueprints to unlock, and I really want these flaming boots. Then, after adding some new decoration in the house, I upgraded and repaired my motorcycle and hit the road for the day. You ever just drive around for fun with nowhere to go, just seeing where the road takes you? Well, this was one of those days. I wanted to explore the Ember Strand and unlock some teleportation towers there, plus test out what this bike is capable of, which is a lot more than I expected. And where it stopped, I kept going.
Woo! We did it! We're gonna go this way. Part is a word. I broke my leg. It doesn't matter. I've got bandages. It will be fine. Pork chops for dinner. Can I land on your house? Am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? I made it. How are you, hot toes? Can't hear it. Might have just ran over a baby goat. Boop.
I did some level 2 purification on the next day at the Stardust filter. It brought level 25 deviants this time, including a rainfall reaper that wanted to rain on my crops. Get your yucky rain off my corn, thanks. Then, that night, I went on a trip. The deviants don't always drop acid, but when they do, it makes me pretty happy. The acid trip was to make these high voltage batteries, which I needed to make my thermal tower. The thermal tower can be upgraded for different boosts to your territory, but at the moment, it helped me complete a commission and some journey quests that helped me hit level 45. To continue further with the Ember Strand quests, I really needed this coldium to help deal with the heat, and it needed cold ore. After a bit of thinking, I finally had an idea and made some extra Molotovs. At first, it didn't work, mainly because of my aim, but the next try it did, and I was finally able to collect my first cold crystal ore. I had some frost grenades too, and teleported over to test them out on hot ore, and wouldn't you know, that did the trick. I tried my polar jelly too, but that didn't work. Well, frost grenades it is. I made a trip to unlock the teleport at Ember Dust Monolith that night, stopping on the way at one of these frozen glowy lights. Finally realizing what to do with it, too. Yeah, I really should have thought of that sooner. Oh yeah, I also needed those hot and cold ores for the first upgrade to my thermal tower. I worked the next morning on another upgrade for the tower, which gives gear crafted in its range a 30% durability boost. Then I went to do some sightseeing at the Firethroat Fortress, but I don't think the vultures were very happy about my visit. I just want a picture, please. After getting my picture, I pulled up the next quest, one to take out this Tremble guard. I threw in my polar jelly first, and it was a good thing I did because all his friends came right out of the woodwork. I eventually cleared them out and looted everything. Then moved on to this not-so-happy vulture, who sent me to talk to another, slightly shadier vulture. I threatened him with lava, though, and he told me everything I needed to know.
Calm down.
Now let me grab this mailbox stuff, and I think I might just come back tomorrow. I made another upgrade to my thermal tower and crafted myself a tier 5 purple rifle the next morning. Then made my way back through the Firethroat Fortress, where I was supposed to disguise myself and infiltrate the Vulture Church, which happened to have a nice loot crate.
My first question is...
Things didn't go well, though. I hadn't done my homework and ended up answering all the questions wrong, which turned things into a bit of a nightmare. Or maybe it was a nightmare. I woke up and went in to try again.
Good!
This time I knew all the right answers and got their sacred deviation, leaving through the vultures with no problems at all. It was a new phase again, with pro dungeons open now on day 66, which reminds me I need to try one of them in hard mode sometime. Not today though, my buffalo is starving. So today I'm building a new garden. I had to unlock some things first, then I got to work. I spent day 67 working on the garden too, wiring up electricity to some new grow lights I'd unlocked. I finished it up with some pillars at the end, because everything looks better with pillars, and spent the rest of the day adjusting things. Look how pretty. Now I think I'm done for the day. Oh, except for this vending machine I unlocked. My buffalo can run the store. It was a new week, and I decided to purify what little level 3 Cortex I had. It brought level 35 Deviants and another Creepy Reaper. It got me a bit of Starcrom, completed a season goal, and I even leveled up. Then I spent the rest of the day close at home gathering these coneflowers, because I realized I could make some herbal animal food with them. The corn was taking too long to grow, and I needed something to feed my buffalo. I don't know if it's her favorite or not, but at least she'll eat it. Unlike the meat pellets, she wouldn't touch those. On day 69, I decided it was time to finally go for one of the hard ones. I headed over to the Delta securement silo and almost backed out once, before going in on hard mode. It was the same as before, but with level 50 enemies this time. It definitely made the dungeon a lot more difficult, but I noticed the biggest difference at the boss battle. Not only was the boss higher level, but he had some new attacks, and there were additional vultures that kept spawning in as I was trying to fight him, along with a section where he went immune and started healing while I had to take out his clones. Even with the help of my maiden deviation, it was a long fight, but I was pretty proud of myself at the end of the night. It's day 70 now, and I unlocked this new sprinkler, adding some space to my garden area to move over the water equipment, and a generator to power all this new mess. I didn't know at the time that the pipes are gravity-based, which makes sense. I guess I just thought, video game magic or something. Part of it was working, just not exactly like I intended. That night, I turned in a couple quests. A deviation for Low and pictures for Hot Dog. Then I took a picture of my own. I needed acid again on day 71 and went back to Ashington. I underestimated this Starwalker there and found a gear crate up this zip line. Then for some reason decided it was a good day to take on this Order Keeper. Yeah, it was not. I managed to finish it, but not without dying first. Well, at least it was a good acid trip. I spent day 72 trying to figure out the water supply issue. I finally realized it was gravity-based and raised my rainwater collector, along with adding several more to make sure my sprinkler had a good supply. I repaired my motorcycle next. I've been a bit rough on it. It was so much fun to drive, though, I just couldn't help myself. I took it to unlock another teleportation tower in the Ember Strand, grabbing a bit of tungsten along the way with my amazing solar drill. I also couldn't pass up this hot rock ore and a few more vultures to kill. I made it to the tower that evening, where I found an interesting note left by Irune. Something about a squirrel in a cave over this bridge. Seems a bit suspicious, but I'll check it out. Turns out there was a squirrel there, though, and I traded it some hot rock ore for several nice goodies. Definitely can't pass up these zip lines either. Whee! Then I stayed up all night driving, right into day 73. I traveled to the far north area of Ember Strand, looking for some place called Sunshroud Cave, where Igna was supposed to be. I found plenty of vultures to fight, a bit of sketchy lava platforming.
Welcome to Sunshroud Cave, Mayfly.
And then a ton of gear crates and scrap. I had so much stuff, in fact, that I offloaded some of it in the trunk of my car. I fought through several more, searching around, eventually finding this Chaosium researcher who told me Igna was never here in the first place. I got the info I needed, though, and grabbed one more gear crate. Now, time to disassemble all this beautiful scrap. And look, Sloth Ninja moved to the neighborhood. Most of day 74 I spent capturing more animals. No reason, really, I just wanted to. Sorry, Miss Piggy, not enough darts for you. Look how cute! Speaking of cute, I played some more Whack-A-Llama after that. But judging by the aim, I think that might actually be my kid playing.
Oh my god, he is going crazy.
Definitely my kid.
Backmato.
She wanted to play the Wish Machine and did some gathering for me, apparently letting her intrusive thoughts get the best of her. It was day 75 now, and I had more of these little deviation buddies than I knew what to do with. I love them all and don't even want to part with the low-level ones, which I'm proud to say I finally figured out. I was also finally crafting my first Tier 5 gear, starting with this Burning Rage rifle. After calibrating it, I made myself some Tier 5 armor too, only to find I didn't have enough energy links to calibrate it. I know where I can find a few hundred across the street. Looking for energy links, I thought pretty heavily about trying the Delta Silo on Pro mode. I chickened out in the end and wandered into a random vulture nest instead, though, to test out my new gun. It probably wasn't the best test, they were only level 10, but it sure was fun. Then I remembered to add my gun accessories to the new gun, and things got even more fun. I was so used to having them on my other gun, I was really missing the extra accuracy. I got some goodies in the mail on day 77 after some server maintenance. There was also an event going on with all sorts of Christmas goodies. I spent a long time just wandering through all the different menus, got some gifts and gave some gifts, turned in some of these fantastic journey tasks, and then an update to the Starcrom system rewarded me with all sorts of Starcrom from the new Stellar Stairway. Later that evening, something was wrong with my buffalo. I think it almost starved to death, and I gave it some heals. I gathered several flowers for extra food, and decided maybe I had too many animals now. Sorry guys, you're going back in the box. I had to miss a couple days playing IRL, and even though I'd been gone, all my deviations had been working hard. They had so much stuff, it took me a few trips to get it all. Then I did a bit of the holiday event stuff, where I found the server had unlocked this cute little Dr. Teddy. I don't know what it does yet, but it has a Santa hat, and that's all I need to know. There are others you can unlock with enough of these wish badges, and they all have Santa hats too. Well, I'm gonna need more of these wish badges for sure. Day 79, I was feeling ready for action after all that time in my menus. I was level 50 now and had learned to cook this fancy all-weather stew, crafted myself both a coldium and hedium, and was working on some tungsten ammo, when I saw this team invite for the Zone of Haze Pro in the world chat. And it was Tony. That was definitely not what I had planned, but I didn't know when I might get the opportunity again. I debated as I saw the slots quickly fill, 2 and then 3. Guess it's now or never. At least Tony probably knows I'm a noob. I had already geared up pretty well, intending to go on my own adventure, and quickly teleported to a Hive member's base nearby the Zone of Haze. Still not knowing how teams work. I didn't want to keep them waiting and hustled over to the entrance, where I found no one. I gave an all good in the team chat, and then the countdown started right above my head. Guess you don't have to be here to go in. And I'm off to a great start. The Zone of Haze was a crazy place, and I was absolutely unprepared. I realized pretty quickly I should have probably brought something for sanity, but I did have some gummies in my backpack. The others had all stopped at this light pillar, but I didn't realize why at the time. Then we fought through some more deviants running towards this next pillar. I made it just in time, but still hadn't figured out this damage stack from the darkness. We stayed at this pillar for a while, fighting off the enemies following us. then continued to the next place. We stayed in the next room for a while, fighting off all sorts of things. If I'd just read this up here in the corner, everything would have made a lot more sense to me. Everyone else seemed to know what to do, though. I think I was just having too much fun.
This is going better than I thought.
Ooh.
Let's keep moving.
We finished that room and got some rewards.
Ooh, fancy.
Then I upped the bar on dumb mistakes when I made this bad jump.
Wait for me.
After that, there was a bunch of spiders with this creepy mirror lady in a hallway, followed by this big room with a level 60 Scorcher. He had some sort of shield we had to get down, and I didn't really know what to do, figuring I'd just stay out of the way and kill all these extra things. I noticed my new friend Crawl holding one of these glowing balls, though, and he threw it at this pillar, which lit up and revealed a mark on this giant circle. I noticed they were turning it to reveal different shapes, and decided to just keep shooting spiders and stay out of the way. I saw Crawl shoot the last marker later, removing the Scorcher's shield, and promptly switched over by mistake to my frozen fish. I got this, guys, just let me at him. Things got pretty crazy as we tried to finish him off, with more and more deviants piling in. At first, I was trying to deal with them until realizing it was futile and deciding to focus on the boss. Definitely better get out my fish again.
Put the fish away.
Finishing him, we moved on to the next place, which was a crazy run to the next light pillar, and well, I didn't make it.
Following Tony.
I'd followed Tony, who skipped one and almost made it. Then, still completely oblivious to the light pillars, I hate to admit I did it again when things around this pillar got a little out of hand. After that, we moved on to the Zone of Haze boss, a secret servitor. I was doing okay for the first part of the fight. Well, mostly anyway. It was exciting though, and I was still alive somehow. When we hit the next bar of its health though, it dropped us through the floor and into the dark. I broke my legs, of course, and then died again and again to the dark. I'd run out of adrenaline shot uses and felt really bad for my teammates who kept having to come help me, which is honestly what probably led to us getting defeated in the end.
No, Tony.
Sorry, Tony. Once it was over, Crawl was nice enough to give me some tips in the chat. Despite the mess, I think I might have actually made some friends. It wasn't long when I got an invite from Anup to join the team again. Well, if you insist. I was surprised to see that we started right back at the end boss. This time I knew what to do, though I did break my legs again when we fell through the floor.
Oh no.
I stayed near the light pillar and was doing pretty well, until this lightning took me out, which taught me a new lesson. Stay close to your teammates, because to revive me, Tony had to come all the way across the arena.
You're the best, Tony.
They were nice, just following him over to be at the pillar with me, the dummy, and I tried my darndest to be the best teammate I could be. I even returned the favor, reviving Tony later in the fight, and doing my absolute best not to die. We prevailed in the end, finally defeating the Zone of Haze. I got another Gazokyo deviation and a bunch of other goodies. Most exciting of all though, I felt a little like I'd made some friends.
Hooray. Yeah.
Feeling pretty good on day 81, I built this cooler looking bed. I played the wish machine for a while next, unlocking some cool gear to make. It took me a minute to decide on which pants I liked best, but the smiley face on these won me over. Then I did another level 3 Stardust purification thing that evening. It was level 35 Deviance, and this time got me 500 Asterism instead of Starcrom. As I repaired everything on my territory, I noticed something interesting in the world chat. Coordinates for Hale's moving house. I'd seen this in the challenges, but hadn't run into it yet, and jumped on the opportunity, teleporting as close as I could get. Excuse me, I'm not here for you guys. I glided down onto this frozen lake, and there in the middle of it was a house. It really didn't look that special, aside from the fact it was parked in the middle of a lake. I had a feeling from the name there was something creepy about it, and inside I found these 3 creepy arms. When I started to shoot them, the whole house stood up. On legs. Or arms. I'm not really sure. I shot the little arms inside, and then for once, read what was up in the corner. I shot the mural, and a little blue ball came out, so I went to look for it. I couldn't find it, and eventually decided to jump out, and just try shooting the house, when I noticed several glowing blue balls hanging below, and started shooting. When the last one was gone, the house just sort of sat down on its butt, allowing me to hop back up. Inside, I found it in what looked like a VCR net. Yeah, that's a serious age check. Then jumped out and shot its little dangling arms again. This time, it took me forever to find the thing in the house. I shot everything before finally finding it in the light switch. Oh. Ooh. Day 83 included another Stardust filter run, working on my holiday event rewards, a bit of friendly PvP, and one of my favorite things, decorating. I got a potato for Christmas on day 84 and was able to calibrate some of my gear. Then I'd noticed these new markers on the map and went to go see what it was. I saw what it was all right. One of the big Chaos Weavers, and this one definitely seemed to notice me. I'm pretty sure I'll need some of those new friends I made if I want to take it on by the end of this thing. That night, I topped off my noob mistakes, thinking I was capable of taking on one of these production facility defenses. I didn't know you could set up defenses and hadn't brought anything, instead just moving around the stuff that was available to try to make some barriers. But I had no idea what was coming for me. It was a huge wave of level 45 enemies, and it didn't seem to take very long at all before I got the failed notification. Well, now I know at least. On day 85, I don't remember why, but I decided to do the PSI security silo one more time. Then dropped in on these vultures to activate their rift anchor, before spending some time on the wish machine where I unlocked this very cool looking SMG. I crafted it at tier 5 the next morning and took it with me to the EX-1 securement silo. It has a bounce that sends bullets ricocheting everywhere. Oh, and I brought this new samurai deviation I got. I'd forgotten that this was that awful place with the red light green light monster. With my better gear though, I'm pretty sure I think I could do this one on hard mode. So that's just what I did on day 87. On day 88, I had enough of the Christmas wish badges to buy myself a Chephosaurus Rex. I just need the beaver now and I'll have all 3. Then I just need a Christmas hat for me. Then I spent most of the day out just having fun doing random things. On day 89, I finally got my buffalo to 50% tamed, which lets me collect milk from it, finishing one of the last journey quests. But I still had one more for the animal farmer line, to slaughter an animal. No one said it had to be my buffalo though. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. Now if I could just decide on the cutest deviation, just look at this little lava frog helping out at my furnace and the Chephosaurus Rex cooking up supper. I took it to go and teleported to a Hive member's place that was near a very polluted lake, full of Star Trace ore. I ate the steak dinner, which was made from beef and has a special sanity buff, allowing me to gather all sorts of the stuff. I used the ore to make Stardust Source for calibrating my gear, then headed off for the next big quest, where I think I may finally find the infamous Igna. Things didn't start out great when I teleported over to immediately get set on fire. Guess I should have taken this all-weather stew and turned my lamp on first. I drove instead this time and met up with Roland at the bottom of the Firethroat volcano, which was an adventure all its own.
I see you made it out of Sunshroud Cave in one piece.
Then, after dealing with a few more vultures, met him again at the elevator for some extra serious talk.
You ever get tense on missions like this? You head to the
We
top
took the
level
elevator to the main place, which had a teleport tower outside. Though I'm not sure that's a good sign. The place was full of level 50 vultures, and I ended up not doing so hot, or maybe too hot actually, deciding it might be best to do a bit more prep. I think I'll take a rain check. I finally got that beaver on day 91 and spent the next few days preparing, trying to get in a few more calibrations on my gear. Not only did I need to finish dealing with Igna, but I also still had the final monolith to take on, and really wanted to try and gather some friends to defeat a Chaos Weaver, though I might need a few more friends for that. And on day 96, I just happened to find a few more. I joined a team in the chat for Securement Silo PSI Pro Mode, and ended up in for an interesting ride. They didn't just do it once, they did it 3 times. That worked for me though. I got a ton of energy links and I'd been running low.
Teddy bear, oh teddy, teddy bear.
After that, the next day they topped it off with another trip to the Zone of Haze. I knew what was going on a bit better now, and didn't make too bad a fool of myself. Oh,
let me up, let me up.
Day 98, I finally got to take on the Ember Dust monolith. I just started a team myself, and this time tried to play it cool, and once they said they were ready, went in to take on the Forsaken Giant. It was Conde and DJ with me this time, and this monster was one of the most interesting looking yet. As usual, I didn't get the point of it right off, but I eventually caught on. You have to hit the red spot for more damage, and try not to get smashed. When we defeated him, I found this extra cute Nutcracker deviation. Wonder what you do. He was even cuter in person, marching around my house, and turns out he helps protect the place. With that fight out of the way, I decided it was time to go back to the Fire Throat. I'd made a tier 5 version of this amazing frost gun I'd had early on, and headed in with a variety of heat-resistant drinks and foods. The new gun absolutely ripped through all the vultures, and at the end there was Igna.
You've caused me quite a bit of trouble. But there's no need for us to stay enemy.
We had a quick chat for a while, and at the end of it, Igna jumped off onto what appeared to be a fire Chaos Weaver and escaped. Well, daggone it.
Too late!
I guess now, for day 100, there's only one thing left to do. Gather as many people as I can to take on one of the Chaos Weavers. It started with just a few people, but as the battle raged on, more people joined in, and we had several by the end. It took us almost 2 whole days together with all of us shooting.
We did it! Let's go.
And now I just can't help but wonder if they realized I was trying to get this cool shot of them for a YouTube video. I suppose it is a bit strange to face away from everyone while you celebrate. Now that I've finished 100 days in the way of winter, it's time to move on to a new challenge, the Lunar Oracle. I'm not sure if I'm ready yet for the crazy things to come, but you can join me for free by using the link in the comment. Thanks again to NetEase for sponsoring this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and let me know what you want to see next.